Hello everybody, so you know that I've been talking about this group made up of such individuals as Vadim, aka Creationist Cat, who likes to refer to himself in the third person as Creationist Cat for whatever reason. David Sharat, aka Alternative Facts, CNN. I'm just joking on that. Then there's also people like Woolly Bumblebee, who's pretty much more of an SJW at this point, really. Robin Gething, all those types of people. You know, I've been talking about them a lot, and V has been talking about them a lot, and they've been getting in a lot of drama recently. In fact, they've been causing the drama. Also, Thunderfoot is one of those people, recent convert. And, well, I'm not going to talk necessarily about these people. This isn't the video that I promised in the last video, actually. This is something slightly different. I know, bit of a tease, but I need to make content, and I had a very interesting thought today that I think I would like to share with you. So basically what has happened is this. I was thinking and I came to conclusion. As you all know, I don't believe in the idea of the skeptic community. I don't call myself a skeptic. I don't call myself a rationalist. In fact, I'm not even a rationalist by the actual definition of the word. I'm an empiricist, technically, even though I don't call myself that, because I rely on the empirical data to make an opinion rather than rationalizing thought. I might have got the rationalist term wrong there, but that's the difference between the two. Now, it's the idea of that community, the idea that it exists, the idea that this is a thing with people with a set opinion or set opinions, set goals, that has caused this rift, this falling out, this mass fallout, where a lot of people, mostly on the political left, none of them seem to be particularly right-wing. They might have positions that are still kind of right-wing, because, you know, humans are complex, we have different opinions, but they're mostly on the left, if not entirely on the left. Now, that's not to say that all the left wing of the so-called community has just fucked off and become Skeptic Plus. No, obviously I don't like Skeptic Plus, Sargon doesn't like Skeptic Plus, V doesn't, Louis Laveau, loads of other people. Clearly, we're alright. We've not made this giant leap into progressivism that these people have, despite the, you know, warning signs. But anyway, that's the point. It's the fact that this community theory, this idea that it exists, has caused this rift, because that's got into these people's heads. Because, let's be honest, I think when people are making the idea that this thing exists, there's a bit of collectivism going on, and these people tend to be possibly the most collectivist of the lot, or have become more collectivist over time, and I've decided, well, this is what it's supposed to be about in our heads, therefore everybody should be making a particular argument, a particular content, and if they don't make this particular content, then they're haram. They're not true skeptics, they're just ideologues, they're tribalists, they're doing this for whatever motive we can possibly dream up. And I think this has caused the rift, because I don't know whether on the other side there's been anything like that, because I don't know. I can't speak for individuals. I've not seen anything to suggest that the people they don't like have become more collectivist. I certainly haven't. I've tried to become more individualist over time, and I think I've succeeded in that. But for whatever reason, the reason why a lot of their grievances are the way they are is because of this idea of the community. They want to criticise more of the right wing. They want to criticise the alt-right in specific, or even just conservatives, or the so-called alt-right, which is people like Lawrence Southern. And as far as I'm aware, there was never this push by anybody, or even this kind of collective agreement, because there is no collective. If there is a collective, it's a bunch of loose alliances of individuals or groups, like libertarians with liberals, liberals with socialists, socialists with conservatives, etc, etc. Yes, there are socialists in the so-called community, or who are anti-feminist or anti-sjw. So this is what it is. It's in my opinion, it's a series of loose alliances that are falling apart, as evidenced by the fact that these people are falling out with a load of people. And they've got it into their heads that there's some kind of collective idea that nobody criticises the right, or they don't bother to for whatever reason, and over time they've been overthinking it, and now they think that essentially nobody can call out the right because the right apparently doesn't do anything wrong, even though nobody said that they couldn't. Nobody ever said that the right wing wasn't having their own issues. It's just that for most people making this kind of content, this genre, which I'm going to say it's a genre, they're of least importance compared to the progressives and the social justice warriors and the feminists. And it's quite obvious when you look, especially in Europe, these people are still very much in power in most countries, not just as prime ministers, but in the university systems and the education systems. Pretty much most things that you can imagine that a country needs to run on that isn't a STEM field or a very hard job like, say, utilities or something like that. And it's this collectivist mindset, this collectivist idea of this is what the skeptic community has to be, or this is what it has become, and we don't like this. We think the skeptic community should be attacking both sides, which, to be fair, people in said genre have always done, depending on their bias. Again, they think that everybody should do it, and this is the difference. These are the people, despite the political compass tests, with clearly a more authoritarian bent than the compass test seems to imply, because they're trying to say that you should do this, you have to do this, you must criticise Paul Joseph Watson more, you must criticise Lawrence Southern more, and Richard Spencer, and all those other people that you could possibly imagine that they have grievances with, because we have to, even though you don't have to, nobody said you had to, and if you want to do it, go ahead, you don't have to fall out with everybody over it. And this is what it boils down to. It's a criticism of over where the direction should go, essentially, because they've got it in their heads that this is a fixed thing. Everything, especially the right. The right is a rising threat, and maybe it is. I don't know. It depends where it is on the spectrum, right? But they've become so collectivist, so authoritarian, that if you do not toe their particular line, if you do not criticise the right enough, if you're seen to not criticise them at all, you're deemed as part of the problem. You're deemed as probably a right wing yourself. You're dog whistling, even though you're not. Maybe you're a leftist who wants to sort out their own camp first before criticising your ideological opponents, or at least the main ones. You've seen the SJWs, you've seen progressives and feminists, and realise they've got to go, or at least their influence must be diminished to a large extent, and then you can criticise the right as usual. And that's something that's happened in history, like even without ideologies in countries where there's been civil strife and problems. Great rulers have often had to deal with it in-house first and then the outside threats. But no, you can't do that, otherwise you are part of the problem. And it's this collectivist mindset, the idea of this community, that has caused this. Not only has it caused this collectivist mindset to grow and foster and become a cancer, some other people from outside of that, the SJWs, are also using this. I think it was SJWs that even coined the term. I don't remember exactly who it was, but I remember they went through, as I've told you before, loads of different names. The atheist community, the anti-feminist community, all these other terms, and finally it became skeptic community, and apparently the term stuck. I don't know who made it stick. It's now gotten to the point where even people who've never ever associated themselves with that term, like me, are being labelled like that. People are being labelled like this. If you say a certain thing, if you believe a certain thing, you must be that. Therefore, it is so, and you think this, you make videos about that, and it's unhealthy. It's incredibly unhealthy. I mean, these are the types of people that are supposed to be against tribalism. They are the anti-tribalists. That's another name for them. Yet they do nothing but put people in groups. They do nothing but say, this is what this particular group does. This is what we think this particular group that we used to think we were a part of, but now we're not because everybody else didn't do what we wanted them to, and now we're this other group and they're that other group, but we're not a tribe. We're not tribalists, okay? We don't have a group. We're just friends. We don't go around causing drama to another group, but hey, you know what? Whatever. See what I mean? There's also like a self-awareness there, and I wish people would stop fussing and wanting to create communities all the time. I know it's a human thing. I know it is. But just because there is a large group of people who share certain things and talk to each other doesn't mean that there's necessarily a community. Like, I know that Near Edge has told me that just because these people talk to each other or are friends, therefore it's a community. But being a friend with somebody or a group of people is not necessarily a community. In fact, it's not a community. That's just a friendship circle. That's a clique. And there's nothing wrong with cliques. I don't think there's anything wrong with cliques. A lot of these people don't like cliques yet are part of cliques. And this is the problem. It also seems to be that the term community has widened. The definition is changing to include friends, friendships. I mean, yeah, you can have friends within a community, but they do not make a community. There has to be something intrinsically more binding that binds individuals together. And I think anti-feminism and anti-sjw type stuff really isn't something that's that binding. It's literally just a facet of somebody's ideology. But I would think that guy T would have far more in common with Roman Millennial than he does with me. And I like both of them. I'm friends with T, but let's be honest, I'm not part of a community with him. Unless you count YouTube as a whole, which I will grant you that. But ultimately, this is just a stupid ramble. I probably repeated myself a lot, but the point is, the idea of communities, this tribal mindset, which we will never ever truly get rid of, I know, I understand, has caused this rift. This is just a theory of mine. Maybe I'll develop it over time, maybe I'll think about it more, and maybe I should script this out, maybe have bullet points for these types of videos and outline it when I've had more thought. But usually when I say that, I never really do a follow-up. But I will try to remember. I think it's an interesting discussion to have. I think we should discuss these ideas more. Why do these people think the way they do? Why do these things happen? Why do people think that just because a load of people share an opinion, therefore that is a community? Why is the definition being widened? Is it being widened just in arguments, or is it genuinely being widened as the consensus among people is changing? Interesting times, interesting thoughts. I'd like to know your opinions. Please do comment down below. I would really like to hear what everybody has to say about this. So I'm going to end the ramble here. Goodbye.